Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have got Jonathan Damilola Oladeji today with me on Yes to Success platform. And I'm just going to interview Jonathan. He will tell us a lot more about what he does. But Jonathan is based in South Africa. He is studying his master's in real estate, and he does quite a few other things apart from studying. And I will just allow this fascinating young man to tell us a little bit more about himself. So, Jonathan, can you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, thank you for having me today. My name is Jonathan Oladeji, and I'm Nigerian, studying a master's in real estate at the University of Pretoria, South Africa. Aside from being a research fellow here at the university, I'm also a writer, a content developer, content manager. I also have authored a number of books, ebooks for now. I'm still focusing on online content for now. I curate the Peer Writers magazine, and I'm also the editor for a dish literary magazine called Writers.com. So that's a little bit about myself.
Okay, your sound needs to go up a little bit.
Okay, the sound.
Yes, that's better now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think I just have to move closer to the microphone.
Okay. So you also work with content creation. Can you just explain a bit more about what that is?
Okay. Content creation is, well, I would say it all starts from writing for me. There's the idea that writers are just creative, who have no idea about business and how it works. But I have come to realize that content is everything, especially in the age of the internet. For you to do anything online, all of what you are doing, all the engagements we have, all the activities we have on social media, on platforms, they all rely heavily on content. Content marketing is the art of, well, I won't call it a science because really most of the time it's an art. It's where you connect your audience to content that would help them take the right actions in business, for business ventures, for brands they need to connect with. Like I usually tell people that content is what draws people to your brand. It's what tells people that, okay, this is a brand you can work with. This is a brand you can trust. The kind of stories you tell on your platform, the kind of things you talk about, the kind of experiences you have as a platform owner that you share with your audience, that will tell your audience if they can trust you and if they can work with you. Google is one of the largest search engines all over the world, and anyone that's coming online to interact with the internet, any platform online, the first place most people go to is Google. They want to buy products, they want to find services, most people go to Google. And even other search engines, well, like we could call Amazon also a kind of search engine, but it's mostly an e-commerce site where people buy things. But even for you to find things on Amazon, it's because some people have created the content you find on Amazon. So it's easy for you to type in your Amazon search and say, I want to find this product. And the search takes you to the most relevant search to the keywords you wrote. and it helps you to find what you're looking for. Now, all of that process relies on content. So the job of the content developer or manager is to ensure that businesses and brands who are building their platforms, they have the right kind of content that makes them visible to the kind of people searching for what they are offering. So you create the content that reflects your brand, and it also positions your brand. It's not just reflecting what you do, it also positions your brand as an authority to ensure that your visitor doesn't just come to your site, see it as just a blank web page and leave. So content is like a magnet. It keeps them, it draws them, it keeps them, and it brings them to take action. So that's what I basically do.
I think it's a very important aspect of business, especially most people don't know what to do. They want to market their stuff on Facebook, but they don't know what to say. They don't know where to go. They don't even know how to advertise it. And they don't even know that there are certain words that you can say and other words that you can't say because your advert will be taken out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me also that on social media also, aside the platforms like websites and blogs that are common for Google searches, there are platforms like the social media pages and groups. One of the things I do is to help business owners to harness the power of these platforms, to connect them together into one brand. Make sure that they're giving off the right message and attracting the right set of people to you. That's very, very much important. Without the right content, you will not be attracting the right kind of people to your platform.
So,
and that's basically what content marketing does.
So, for example, someone who has, like, say, for example, myself, I have a couple of groups that I manage, right? So, do you take over, or I just tell you that this is what I need and you give me the content? How do you work?
Typically, it depends on each person. Some business owners prefer that someone else handles their social platforms for them.
Okay.
So that will be in the agreement with the person. Now, okay, this is how they may give us access to their platforms, like there are pages that are not mine, but have been made admin to those pages. There are groups that are not mine, but I'm an admin to that group. So it gives me access to those groups, and I can post on behalf of the person.
Right.
So, but sometimes people, there are clients that will just request for the content and they post it themselves. There are clients that do that. One of the platforms I work for, which is an e-commerce site, the content, both for the website and the social pages, I had access to all these platforms. So I was posting on behalf of the platform. So my name doesn't show up because it's reflecting the brand. But there are also platforms that I work with where I only send in content and my name still reflects on those content. So there are different modalities depending on each person's business and platform.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is each person is different and their preferences are different. They'll have to explain to you what they want and what they're comfortable with.
Exactly.
That's very good. So I want to know how then you because these are simply different fields altogether. There is the realtor and there is the social marketer. Do you have passion for both? How do you keep this going? Because for each of them, you're doing masters. So you must have some passion for it.
Okay, so real estate for me is I see both as there's always a middle point for the two. I find a way to introduce my content creation capacity into my real estate pursuits. Recently, I worked a, with a real estate consulting platform where we had to create content that evaluates investments in real estate, especially the hospitality um, industry in Africa. So my job was not to market tourism, hospitality, property. No, it was just to find the kind of information that people who are in that field are interested in reading and provide it to that person. Another client I worked with recently was a property construction company here in South Africa,
Right.
and I created the platform for their website, I mean the content for their website, and also for some of their interviews that reflected their that was the target was to reflect their capacity as a startup, a growing business, to show that they were actually reaching out. Their marketing efforts were to expand their marketing efforts. So that was the essence of actually setting up their platform for them and creating the content I did for them, was just linked to the real estate industry. So for me, real estate, the passion for real estate comes from my desire to see Africa growing in terms of policies when it comes to housing. In Nigeria alone, there's about 17 million or more people without homes to live in. So it's a huge deficit. The housing deficit in Nigeria, it's a huge one, and it's something that troubles anyone that's interested in some of the things that plague Africa. For me, I write a lot about Africa. I also write for Africa on the blog.
Right.
It's an African news platform, content platform. So I write about Africa a lot, and it's through all these things that I realized that I have a capacity or the passion to influence the thoughts, what people are doing towards housing in Africa, in Nigeria. That's so. There's always that meeting point for content and real estate for me.
Wow, this it's difficult to imagine 17 million people being homeless, but also people need to understand the context of that too. Nigeria is a very big country, and so I think if a Zimbabwean hears about that, they'll be thinking, okay, where would you fit all those people? Because our country is fairly small in size compared to, but we also have problems of homelessness. So I think it is quite good that you are taking the initiative to study and understand how this problem of housing is taken care of, not just in Nigeria, but also in Africa as a whole. Other countries will be able to adopt or adapt or adopt what you are preaching and sharing, and but also you could also be hired to work with other countries too, depending on what paper you come up with. You know, it is important that policymakers, they know what to do because they are in those jobs so that they save their people. And housing is a basic need. And it seems in most places it's ignored. And yet I would imagine when people were on campaign trails, that is what they were promising as the first thing, because they know that it is the basic needs. The first shelter is the top basic need. So they promise shelter, and then when people vote for them, shelter doesn't come. But then it also needs people who are not in that in that field where they are talking just because it's something that will get them votes, but it is someone who is doing it because they've got it in their heart that they need to serve people in this way. There's no conflict of interest. You just studying so that you can serve people. So I think it's a very commendable subject to study, and we need more policymakers in Africa. Young people, take the reins.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know that you also write. You have a blog, and you publish, and you compile books. So how many books have you compiled?
Personally, I have compiled a lot of ebooks. But on my blog, I have about 5 right now that
How
are
many?
mine. About 5 that are mine.
Okay.
That I wrote. I once compiled this ebook by Clive Matsiwa, a renowned businessman in Africa. He writes a lot on business and entrepreneurship.
Right.
But there was one of those days, one of the ways I work is that while I'm writing, ideas come to my mind and I think, oh, this could be a solution for people. And so I find a way to help people achieve some of the things they may want to achieve. So at that time, I still follow Strive Massimiwa. But at that time, I realized that a lot of young people who read his writings would benefit a lot from his writings in the form of a book. So I collected some of his articles that were focused on Africa and entrepreneurship, and I made that into an ebook. So that's also one of the things you will see on my blog. And I did that with his due permission, even though it was the permission was gotten via a Facebook comment which I made, because of course it's difficult to get such a person to respond to emails or such
Absolutely.
requests. So when I finished compiling the ebook, I sent him a comment. I commented on one of his posts and said, "Oh, I have done this, and I would like to share it with other people who are following your platform." And he said, "Oh, that's okay. Just make sure that it's free." So it's free to download on my blog.
Right.
Few credits. So that's one of the things I always encourage influencers and businesses, brands to do, to curate their content into ebooks that can be downloaded. Because as much as people read on social media, a lot of people are going to ebooks and magazines and downloads a lot of the leads you will get as a business person from the internet will come from those who get such downloads from your platform. So
Right.
that's the way your brand gets to go out to the kind of people who would eventually be your customers or your clients. Well, I've moved away from the question. So
No,
you would find that on.
interesting though. It's interesting because you have mentioned
Yes,
how you managed to connect with Strive Masiwa. Strive Masiwa is Zimbabwean, as you know. And
yes,
it's interesting how you realized that, you can actually take his content and put it in an ebook so that someone can just download it and have it at hand and available when they want it. But you also ask for permission from him to
yes,
use his material, and he agreed that you can do that as long as it is free. And that is
yes,
also for you as a marketer, it is a marketing tool, because when people do that, they need to download it, they provide their email address, and there is that platform where you are setting business relationships to. That's quite amazing. You could also add that 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 link to the ebook on the platform so that people are able to download under this video after it's been posted.
Okay.
That was like really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just carry on and complete what you wanted to say, if I've not sidetracked you.
Okay, so also on the other platform which I run, which is a literary community, tfwriters.com, you find that we've also had 3 editions of our e-magazine, and I compiled each of them also. As much as each magazine has various authors from different backgrounds in Africa and Nigeria, I compiled all this anthology. Also, the Long Walk to Home, Quotes from Africa 30, which we did in conjunction with your platform, Authors Without Boundaries. I also compiled that both for Amazon and for PDF downloads. So I think that covers most of the books I've actually put together, which I can really talk about. There are others that I can't talk about because I have to claim confidentiality. I cannot disclose some of them. So basically, that's the ones I can talk about.
The one is that Quells from Home.
Quotes from Africa 30, Long Walk.
Yes, A Long Walk from Home. That book is fascinating. I love it because I really like that book, because no one is trying to sound posh and write English in the Cambridge way of writing. The Nigerians are just being original and just putting it out there as they say it. It's one book that with each page you turn, you're just laughing, you know. I really like, it's one of my best books. If I want to laugh, I just pick that one up. It's pretty good. And I've been following some of the writings and blogs that you write. Your writing is so captivating, but then sometimes it's not long enough because you go, oh, damn, what is he gonna say now? And it generates a lot of discussion and interest and all that. There's a lot of activity on your wall. But the story in the book, I found it so fascinating because there's quite a few, you come across as a sympathizer, you come across as a protector and all that. And yet, and yet you have an intention in the end. And that is what just killed me. It was interesting. So people have to read this book. You can also add the link underneath this video. It's so interesting. So tell me more about this magazine.
The Freedom Magazine, we call it the Freedom Magazine, but for every edition, we have a name for it. The last one was called Burn. That's BURN. The idea behind this magazine is that we want to have original voices from African writers all over the world. So we don't really restrict your location where you are. The important thing to us is the ability of writers from Africa to tell their story originally, the way they feel about it, the way they feel about home. We want people to feel like they are walking through the streets of Africa, not through the eyes of someone who has not actually had an original encounter with Africa itself. So of course, one of the challenges I've had as a writer is that sometimes when I read stories about Africa, they are from European authors, people who sometimes may not even know exactly how life is in Africa. And even those who are Africans who write about Africa, they are forced to write the European way because they want to be accepted in the circle of literature,
Right.
which I understand. It's a normal thing to want that validation. I also submit to a lot of international platforms. I write for Africa on the blog, which is also an international platform. So, but I know there's a need by almost every writer to have that validation, but then we are not supposed to do it at the expense of our voice as Africans.
That's
We
true.
have a voice that's unique from the Western voice. There's the way you read Western stories, and they sound somehow that it fits that literary scene. But the literary scene for Africa is more of conversational. The way we converse is different. The way we talk is different. The way we think is different because of our background, where we're coming from. And there's nothing to be ashamed of that this is how we think. There's nothing to be ashamed of that okay, this is how we talk. Um, I recently was reading a story from Commonwealth Stories. It was from, I don't know, I think an Irish writer. And the English was totally different from what you see from maybe the US or maybe Canada. It was totally different. It had this strange, will I say, taste to it. And that was the defining quality of that writing for me. So that's like what I look out for and what my team looks out for in the magazines that we compile. We want to see these original African stories from people who have actually lived in Africa. Um, One of the winning entries for the last magazine, written by Damilola, who stays in the United Kingdom, um, it was set in northern Nigeria, and it was written in such a way that if you read it and you've been in northern Nigeria, even if you've not been in northern Nigeria, you would feel the story walk like as if you are walking through northern Nigeria. It won't be like you're reading a story set in northern Nigeria but written by a Westerner.
Right.
You would understand that this is how people in North Nigeria actually live. This is how they think. These are the things that are interesting to them. You will feel the passion of the writer in those stories. So, and also one of the other winners was also from South Africa.
Quite
So
diverse.
exactly, diversity. We try to blend in the diversity of Africa, but then the originality too. We want to feel like, yes, this is from home. This is from Africa. So that's what we actually look out for, and that's what the magazine is all about.
Okay. And I like the originality of it because that's the audience. I think people forget about the audience.
Mhm.
You can't write about Shakespeare to the wrong audience. They will not understand using that Shakespearean style. They will not understand what you're on about. But
Exactly.
if that is the targeted audience, our people need to have the interest to read. And so you need to give them what they are used to, what they enjoy reading. And
Exactly.
that doesn't mean that they cannot read other things which are written on an international standards. People also like the said thing that people now in Zimbabwe are starting to think about writing stories in Shona, which is and Ndebele, which are the two major dialects. Um, it's something that it's easy to lose because everybody will be writing English. And then 10 years later, there won't be any books on the market where people are proud of their language and even talking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important that it is reflective of the audience and it serves that audience. So I once heard you in another conversation that I had with you when you were talking about you had to create your own job. Tell us a little bit more about how that came about and how you created the job.
Okay, so I finished from Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria. It's one of the top universities in Nigeria. I finished from the Department of Estate Management in 2013. And I finished with good grades, you know, all the flying colors. I had awards, and like every typical Nigerian youth, I was expecting, oh, once I get out, I'll just get a job, a car, you know, marry, and you know, live happily ever after, all of that. But we all know that these things don't always work out that way. Sometimes the road turns one way and turns another. Before you know it, you are headed in another direction entirely. So at that point, I realized that there was no job waiting for me outside university. So it meant that I had to create a job for myself. I also realized that I had to, actually, it was something that I had to sit down and ask myself, okay, so what can I do? What are the skill sets that I have? Okay, I know that I've been trained in real estate in my degree. I've worked in the real estate sector, but I do not see it fulfilling my need at that time. And I do not have the capital to start my own business or to start my own consultancy. I do not have the capital. I worked a bit on my own, but I realized I was still restricted in a lot of ways. So I decided to venture into the other skills that I had, and the next one that came in line was writing.
Right.
And I realized that with little or no capital, I can actually create content. I am very good with stories, so and I know how to create the kind of content that brands look out for. So, and that is how I realized that okay, this is something I can do for myself while building my career, running my master's program, doing my PhD. I can actually fund myself. I can sponsor some of the basic things like food, clothing, other things like that from writing, and that's what it has been. So that's how it went from just being a hobby
To a
to
job.
being a job and a career.
Oh, that's really good. I think it is important that young people are aware that the internet is making things possible. They just need to look at what they have and not to wait, because this unemployment is an issue in most countries, especially as well as the Western world as well. So if people can find a way of honing to their skills and find a way of making that look after them, I think it's quite good. Um, so you also, I think also you mentioned something about how you started writing, because I always wondered at what age did you start writing and how did that come about? Because looking
Okay.
at you and the things you post and the things you write, writing seems to come so natural to you. How did that come about?
Okay. Writing for me it has not always been that interesting or that smooth. Um, there was a time that when I wrote stories and I shared them, I actually would print my stories and take them to my class in the university, my undergraduates, and share them with my classmates. And some people will look at the stories and be like, I don't know where you're going to with this story. I don't get it. But I would keep writing these stories, and but how it all started was that I come from a Christian home. My parents are both clergies, and they usually, when we were younger, it was compulsory for us to study the Bible in the morning and, write out lessons in our journals, our diaries, on what we learned while reading the Bible. So At that point, it was like punishment for me because I really didn't, I really didn't see why I had to wake up every morning and write about what Jesus was saying to me. Um, but then it helped me to start questioning a lot of things quite early in life. That was way back, even when I was about 8 years old, 7 years old, and it became a habit that even uh, as I grew older, I just kept the habit. So it was compulsory for us before breakfast. You have to write something and show it to daddy and mommy that, oh, I've done my quiet time, so I can eat breakfast now. So, but then I kept the habit, even though it was like punishment for me. And eventually I realized that I enjoyed the idea of, you know, sharing my thoughts, questioning myself, introspection. I think that's where I also got the skill of introspection, which helps a lot with growth. Because every time I know I'm encountering problems, one of the things I usually do is I sit down with my journal or my diary. It's always open on my table. I wish I could show you guys right now, but it's always open on my table. So anytime I have any struggles with anything, I just open or I go to the diary and I start making notes and telling myself, okay, so what am I struggling with? Why am I struggling with this? So it has become more of an habit, a habit for me to consistently ask questions and from there bring out ideas, bring out stories. So eventually I discovered the internet and I discovered WordPress. So I realized, oh, I don't even need to print tracts and take them to class and give these people my story that they may even just fling into the dustbin and I've wasted the little lunch money I have. So I decided to start writing on WordPress instead, and I'll share the link with those who could read them, my family, my friends. Of course, I will still struggle for a while. I still struggle now sometimes, but most of the time now it has become more of a culture or habit for me to just scribble my ideas, run through them, share them when I've perfected them, and sometimes the feedbacks are quite wonderful. So that's how it actually started.
And what's interesting is what your parents taught you when you were 7 and 8 or 8. This is something that we are now trying to teach people in our coaching, that you need to form a habit. You need to, and like it takes 21 days to form a habit. But this is something that you were doing from a very, very young age. And that habit has now led you onto a career path. And what I also like is you're not afraid to throw something out that is thought provoking and you stick to your corner.
Yeah, for writers, I think a lot of writers don't understand the fact that writing is also about opinions. Uh, you may be scared. In fact, one of the things I read once sometimes back is any writing you are writing that doesn't make you feel afraid when you want to share it, it's not good enough yet. It doesn't make you feel some form of fear, like no, I'm not supposed to share this now. Then it's
Now
not
you're
yet
right.
ready. So, but when you write and you yourself, you are scared of posting it, you are scared of showing people. Now, yes, you've written something that you actually you feel something about. It's those feelings you have that you transfer to people. It's that feeling you have that if I'm afraid of my story, then I know people will be afraid. If I'm sad with my story, then I know people will be sad. It's funny to me, then yes, people will laugh. Sometimes I read my story and I tell myself I'm not going to laugh. So, but when I laugh, I know yes, this is a funny story. And so that's what a lot of writers don't want to do. We don't want to put ourselves. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to make mistakes. We don't want people to say no, you are wrong. But yes, people will say you are wrong. It doesn't mean you should back down every time. There are times you
just
correct yourself, but sometimes you also have to hold your ground and learn from the process. While people attack you, gives you the capacity to build your stories. The conflict is one of the things I discussed in my book, Right Art, that conflict actually builds your storytelling skills. It's the conflict around you that tells you the kind of emotions you feel about certain circumstances. If you feel nothing for things around you, your storytelling will be quite dry. So that's why yeah, I do that. I do that sometimes just to provoke conversation.
It works. It works because your wall will be like a buzz with comments and all that. So we are about to wrap up. So what message do you want to leave your our audience with, as well as don't forget to tell them again who you are and where they can find you. The information will also add that in the thread of this video when we post it.
Okay, first, I don't know if it's on this conversation we talked about working with Strive Masikiwa. I think we talked about
Yes,
that.
we talked about that, yes.
Okay, so I'll just say opportunities for young people to connect with the world. They are growing with the growth of content. It's becoming easier for people to connect all over the world. That's also one of the lessons I put in my book, Writers, which is seeing writing as part of the process of connecting the world, seeing content as part of the process of connecting people. A lot of us are living isolated lives, and storytelling is now what brings people closer to us. I've met people from Facebook in real life who probably, if I didn't write my stories, I would never have met them. A lot of it, I met you from actually writing for someone. I was writing for someone when I found your profile. We were writing about um, African women achieving a lot of great things all over the world. And I was compiling profiles. I found your profile. And then I decided, let me just message this person. And that was how we became contact. And that's the way we've also shared our work with communities, platforms all over the world. Sometimes I just go online when we are planning our promotions, and we send emails to this platform to tell them, okay, this is what we are doing. We need your collaboration. We need to work with you, and we get responses. That's the way the world is moving right now. Content is what is bringing the world closer to itself. So every young person should actually be understanding the power of storytelling. No matter what you are doing, it's going to be important for you. So I think that's as much as I would like to say for now.
Okay. So you all heard what Damilola is doing and how he is impacting not just his community, but the world at large with the work that he's doing. And if you need any of his services, you should be able to contact him on the links that he's going to provide. And he's also going to provide a free book that he has compiled using Strive Masiwa's information. And I know his Strive Masiwa shares quite a lot of good content. And it's good that you get your hands on this free offer and learn from it. And then no one should start arguing that my opportunities are impeded because there's no material. Because on the internet, there is so much free material that you can learn from if you are willing to do it. So success is about the willingness, the commitment, and taking action. Once again, my name is Monica Kunzekwe Guta. I am a resilience coach and a mindset mentor. I run a group which is called Habits for Success, but this video particularly is for a group that is called Yes to Success, and it's a platform for business people to share their experiences and to share their services so that whoever wants to work with them will be able to connect with them. Let's support each other on this platform. We can do it.
Thank you.